What's up, math fans? I'm going to try to make this video quick. It's about functions. I'm introducing a new topic called functions, which you might have learned in middle school. A function is kind of like a machine. That's how they teach it in middle school, as a machine. And some vocabulary I'm going to explain. But if I can do this quick, then I have time for a joke. So I'll tell you the joke. What did one ocean say to the other ocean? Nothing. It just waved. Get it? Waved. All right. Anyway, so you should be familiar with the letter X. It's a variable. It's known as the independent variable. And the letter Y is another variable, and it's known as the dependent variable. It depends on X. Other words for X, or independent variable, I would call it the domain. The domain is a set of X values, or just the input. Okay? If you have an X value, you should then get a Y value. If you have an input, you should get an output. If you have a domain, you should get a range. So these are just possible vocabulary that I might use. These three all mean the same thing to me. These three all mean the same thing to me. So, think about that machine that you learned in middle school. If you have a number or any value, and you input it as your independent variable, you input it into this machine, this function machine. I'll be the machine. You input it. Right? Yummy. And then you output another number. Your job is to figure out what happened in that machine that took an input of 3 and gave you an output of 7. Okay? Think about it. Come up with a rule. A mathematical rule. So basically, a function is you describing a relationship. Describing a relationship. My relationship is between X and Y. X and Y. It's like two people walking down the block. There's an X and there's a Y. They have some kind of relationship, whether they're dating or they're parents or they're friends or whatever, teacher, student, it doesn't matter. There's some kind of relationship there. So basically, I want you to tell me what the relationship is. Give me the relationship rule. What's the rule? So I put in a 3 and I put out a 7. What happened? Usually what comes to mind is I added 4. So that's great. That's a great relationship. That's the rule. Good. But that rule has to work for all the inputs. So now let's say I took the 5 and I put it in that same machine and I got out 11 as my output. Does this rule apply? Did I add 4? 4 plus 5 is 9, not 11. So no. So then you say, oh, my rule didn't work for the next input-output. So let's see, do I have a rule that could work for both? And if you think long enough, and in future videos I'll explain how to figure it out using a formula, but if you think long enough, 5 becomes 11. How does 3 become 7? How does 5 become 11? Is there a rule that works for both? Yeah. Double it. Times by 2, and then add 1. Times 2, then add 1. And that rule works here also. Times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So here's my better rule. So F is going to stand for function. A function of 5, I do something to the 5, and I get 11. A function of 3, and I get 7. What's my rule? F of X is 2X plus 1. This is called my function rule. Simple as that. You might have already learned it, and yes, I know you did already learn it, as Y equals 2X plus 1. So instead of writing Y, I write F of X. It's the same thing. Y means output, F of X means output. The output is what happened after the machine did its thing. Okay? And this should look familiar as a general form. Y equals mx plus b. If I were to graph this, it would form a line. This is linear. This is called a linear function. There are other formulas where if you look at the numbers, it's not this easy. Maybe I had to do squared first. Maybe I had to raise it to some kind of other exponent. Those are exponential functions. Those are quadratic functions. There's absolute value functions. Right now I'm just introducing linear function. Very, very simple. It does get more complicated, and you'll see how to recognize those in future videos. Any questions? Let me give you one more example. Get rid of this thing. Let's say Alex Billy and Carl are a team. Those are the boys in the class. And then, I don't know, Maria, Nancy, and Ophelia also are the girls in the class. And they go to a party, all right? Now they want to get together and start to dance. So, here's a real simple one. Alex will walk over to Maria and say, hey, you want to dance? Billy will walk over to Ophelia and say, hey, you want to dance? And Carl will walk over to Nancy and say, hey, you want to dance? And we make 3 couples. A, M, B, N, and C, I'm sorry, B went to O, B, O, and C, N. This is basically a function relationship. So I take my domain, I take my range, and I create ordered pairs, ordered pairs, ordered pairs. This is known as a function. It's a very simple, basic function. I don't need to go any further with that. There's no rule. It's just creating ordered pairs from the function relationship. Okay? Let's try this story. Same story. Again. Alex goes to Maria. Alex goes to Nancy. And he says, hey Maria, let's dance. And then he says, hey Nancy, we're also gonna dance. And Billy's pretty quick too. Billy goes to Ophelia again. And Carl goes to the bathroom. Sorry. So here I have ordered pairs, but this is not a function. It's not a function if the domain or the x value repeats. The definition of a function is there can only be one y value for every x value. Here, there's 2 different y values for the same x value. You cannot have an x value repeat. You can't have 2 girls for the same boy. Okay? This would be not a function. So the definition of a function is a relationship where there is only one y value for every x. Alright? Now you know what a function is. Thanks for watching. You can cut it now, but I'm going to do one more real quick. Let's say Alex went to Maria, Billy went to Maria, Carl went to Maria, and then Nancy and Ophelia went to the bathroom. So, Alex, Maria, Billy, Maria, Carl, Maria. What's the definition of function? One y value for every x. One y for every x, one y for every x. I didn't put any stipulations on the girls. This can repeat. This is still a function. This is no problem. Okay? Only the x's cannot repeat. So this, yes, this is a function. And if I were to put actual numbers here, you would notice that as long as there's only one x value, the graph of the line will never be vertical. If it's ever vertical, and it's called a vertical line test, which you will see in a future video, then you know you're not looking at a function. This is okay. This is a function. We're good. Thanks for watching. See ya.